Welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now today we try out the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee Overland Edition. Now we've been behind the wheel lately of a few of these models, more specifically the SRT8. We tried out the 2013 and the 2014 version of that. Now this isn't the powerhouse that those are, but it is the family hauler, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Now by the numbers, the Jeep Grand Cherokee is going to measure in at about 115-inch wheelbase and around about 190 inches overall. Now, like I said, we tested out the SRT8, and in comparison to those, now the body kit's gone, the power under the hood's gone, but everything else is still here. You still got plenty of cargo room, interior comfort, and it is the everyday hauler that you may be looking for. Now for 2014, there has been just a few enhancements for the front end on this vehicle, and the biggest being these more narrow headlamps that you see here. Now in this particular model, the Overland, they actually give you even more high intensity bulbs, and you'll notice that the grille is the typical 7 slot, and they've actually shortened it for 2014. They've actually also raised the lower fascia just a little bit, but overall you still got that off-road prowess that you may be looking for. Now the Jeep Grand Cherokee comes standard with a 3.6 liter V6 engine. It's going to deliver 290 horses and 260 foot-pounds of torque. Now again, that's decent numbers. It gets you off the line and gets you ahead of the traffic. But again, I found at highway speeds that over 70 miles an hour, you really can't push it even more to get ahead of the traffic. You got to give a little bit of room to get up and go. Now on the Summit, Limited, and the Overland models, you do have an optional Eco diesel model at 3.0 liter V6 engine. Now it's going to have a little less horsepower, around about 240 horses, but it's going to have better torque numbers at 420 foot-pounds. Now what that means is that's going to give you a little bit better towing power. On the standard model, that's around about 6,200 pounds. For the diesel model, that's going to be around about 7,400. So that's obviously going to get you bigger toys to the lake and things like that, but obviously that torque also helps a little bit getting off that line. Now if you are desiring a V8 under the hood and don't want to get an SRT8, of course there is one. It's the 5.7 liter V8 engine, and that is the same as the SRT minus a little bit of the tweaking they did. Now this is going to deliver 360 horses and 390 foot-pounds of torque. Now by the gas and fuel economy numbers, of course the diesel is going to do the best in the 20s to 30 mile per gallon range. This one of course did around about 17 to 25 miles per gallon, and the V8 is going to get the least in the 15 to low 20s. And what I loved about this vehicle is its drivability, and that's what you need to look for when you're behind the wheel. Will it wear you out? Will you feel tired? And after that long of a trip, you would expect so, but not on this vehicle. Now we'll get into the inside in a little bit, but it had that leather. It had all the heating and climate controls you could possibly want. Now the place we visited Niagara Falls, looked at one of the 7 wonders of the world, tons of water going over per second. We went downtown Buffalo, actually watched a minor league Bison's game, took in the sights there. And what this vehicle delivers is the versatility. Yes, it can go off-road, it's 4-wheel drive. This city slicker doesn't do much of that, but it also hits the urban roads, hits the pavement, and does quite well. Now when you get behind the wheel of any vehicle, you're looking for those conveniences like power seats, navigation, dual climate zones. Biggest thing I look for, of course, is a smart key system. Now what that is the non-traditional key. It basically means the vehicle knows when you're nearby. You press the corresponding button on any door and it opens right up. Same thing with the back, of course. On this particular model, it does have the power hatch, but either way it's going to be electronic like release, and on this one it'll rise to the occasion. Now with any long road trip, you're obviously going to have the people and the gear to go with it, and on a SUV, of course, that's going to deliver the most cargo space you possibly could want. Now in this vehicle, that's going to be around about 36 cubic feet, and in comparison to a sedan, that's going to be about double. Typically a sedan is going to offer around 14 to 18 cubic feet in the trunk. Now once you lay the rear seats down, if you need to, you're going to almost triple that, around about 68 cubic feet. And on our voyage, of course, we had children across the back and all of our gear here, and we actually still had plenty of room for that important rear view. Now for things that may slide around or things that you don't need to immediately get to, there's actually a great area right underneath the floor here. Lift this up and there's little niches. Now the biggest thing you're going to find in the way is the spare, which is great, because a lot of times we test out drive cars and sometimes we're not seeing these spares, mainly because we're going with run flats and things like that. But it's great to see a spare, of course, because this is a 4-wheel drive model, so it doesn't hurt to have that option. Now this particular model is 4-wheel drive, and you'll know that by the huge 4x4 numbers on the back and the trail rated insignia on the side. Now on this vehicle, it does come with the Quadra-Lift air suspension system, and that's controlled on the inside by the driver. Now if you're familiar with this type system, you may have seen it like on a Range Rover, Land Rover, that type of model. It does a similar actions here, raising and lowering this vehicle to any occasion. Now there are about 5 different modes. One is the normal ride height mode. It's going to carry this vehicle about 8.7 inches off the ground. And there's 2 off-road modes, off-road 1, off-road 2, adding inches as you increase, overall to about 11.3 inches at the max height. Now that's great, of course, if you're off-roading at slow crawl speeds. It will not stay at that height, of course, as you go faster. Now there is an aero mode that is automatically controlled by the car, and that is when you're at faster speeds, the vehicle will sense it and drop it by about 1/2 inch to increase aerodynamics. Last, of course, is for your passengers, the ingress egress, which is wonderful, drops it 1.5 feet, allowing people basically get in the vehicle a lot simpler. Now between the front driver and passenger, you'll find the select terrain system. Now that works in conjunction with the Quadra-Lift air suspension system we talked about earlier, but basically what this does is dials in the driving dynamic that you're looking for. Now it has everything from snow, sand, mud, and rock. Now what it does is it controls 12 different kind of components between powertrain, braking, and suspension, allowing you to go anywhere you want by simply dialing it in and forgetting about it. Now if you go to rock, for example, that's going to raise the air suspension as high as it will go. If you're in snow, it's going to help prevent traction control and over revving the engine, and basically watching for tire slippage. Now there is an auto mode, thank God, where you're basically able to keep it in a simplified mode and pretty much handles about any typical road condition that you're possibly in. Now one of the biggest changes for 2014 on the Jeep Grand Cherokee is right here on the dash and the new Uconnect system that they house now in an over 8-inch screen. Now prior to this, in 2013 model that we tested, it's about half this size, a lot more cluttered, and to me a lot less user friendly. Now for 2014 they summed that all up into a kind of mini iPad like screen. Now if you're familiar with Androids or any of that touchscreen type system, this is what you're going to love. Now what's great is it has simple categories right at the bottom. You press for radio, media, controls for your heating and cooling of the seats, climate controls, navigation. It's all right there, real simple across the bottom. And one of the biggest icons that you're going to press is the Uconnect system. Now we've talked about the Uconnect system, and briefly what it is it turns this vehicle into a rolling Wi-Fi hotspot. Now that is an added service. You have to connect it, pay for it monthly, whatever it may be. But what it does is allows your different apps and different things that you may have on your phone or even iPads, things like that. It makes them versatile. So now you're on the Wi-Fi system. You're able to do the emails in the back seat while the kids are riding. All those demanding products that require Wi-Fi you can now use in this vehicle. Now like I mentioned, we took this on a long journey, and this being one of the upper end models, we obviously had all the comfort you could possibly want in a premium vehicle. And what again I can't stress enough is that it really did not drain on me driving 10 hours, 11 hours, you know, a good round trip of about 1,700 miles. After I was all said and done, I still was invigorated. I did not get worn out, and that's what you want to look for when you're driving a vehicle. Especially when you start talking about SUV, you think you're going to have to muscle it around. And I've driven the Dodge Durango, I've driven other vehicles that are truly feel truckish. This vehicle doesn't do that. It is very regal. Again, with the premium leather, you can't go wrong. You got the powered seats. Anytime vehicles drivers switch, you obviously can power it to your different settings. So you're obviously in a plush vehicle, and that's to be said for a lot of that experience. Now, as for the legroom numbers, which is one of the first things we go to, you've got over 40 inches up front, and you only drop about 2 inches into the back. Now, we took the 3 kids with us. They, of course, all sat side by side, shoulder to shoulder in the second row. Now, one possible complaint is, why hasn't this vehicle upgraded into a 3rd row? Now, I looked at the numbers. When you look at a Ford Explorer, it's just a little bit bigger. When you look at my own CX-9, it's kind of like a lot bigger. Both of those offer 3 rows of seating. Now obviously you can't do that on this vehicle the way it's equipped with, again, that full-size spare back there. Something's going to have to be gone. In this case, a 3rd row back there wouldn't be a bad option. All the other vehicles kind of in this segment are starting to go that way or have already been that way. Jeep is still kind of holding back on that this particular model. Now, if you're looking for your comfort in this vehicle, it's abundant anywhere you sit, and you're going to notice nice seating for both the left and back right passengers. Now, the center is going to be kind of a humpish, and for my 3 children in the back, you put the smallest one possibly in the middle. Now, I've talked about it before. The one thing I wish there was kind of a tri-zone kind of climate system. 2 in the front zones and 1 for the back seat. Because what we noticed is during our trip, the back seat passengers, should we turn down our air, would get a little bit more heated back here. So what we had to do is turn it up more full blast and close off the individual vents up front. That allowed them to have better airflow. Now back here you have the 2 vents. You can pick between the floor system or the ones right in front of you. And what's great is there's almost like a house outlet back here where you can plug in devices. Again, they brought their iPads, their laptops, and we're able to watch DVDs on the go because there was no entertainment system in this vehicle. But what was entertaining was this huge moonroof that basically opens right here with a nice huge screen that takes the whole outside and brings it in. Now it does it for this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Again, we tried out the 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now again, we took it on a long test drive, about 1,700 miles, so we really got to know this vehicle. And what we came to love is its roadworthiness and its drivability. It will not wear you out, so on your daily haul to work, the long trips with the family like we did, they all come coupled together with a great experience behind the wheel. So again, I'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. And as always, keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.